So then we are back with more understandings from the time of the Second Tabernacle services, where we find the Aramaic English translation of the word. This translation comes from the original manuscripts of the prophets of the Israelic lineage. So then we can understand the time of the end. As per Yeshayahu the prophet, we find layers of understanding of the spring feast, the autumn feast, and also the returning of the cities of the Mashiach laid waste for many centuries. As we read it in Yeshayahu the prophet, it's always important making mention of the 61st chapter, because the great prophet was making mention of the promised prophet spoken of by Moses. And quite honestly, when the Hamashiyach ben Yosef was during his duty, he had lots of problems with the people of the law of his time, because they came up with their own interpretations and their own takanot and maasim. So in today's society, many people, they simply say, oh, if the Hamashiyach ben Yosef would be around us, we would obey him. No, they would not. They don't know what they are talking about, because they were handed over so many junky traditions. The church is repleted with lies and cheaters. And truly, when we begin our quest understanding the Hebrew language, we find then that the Hamashiyach ben Yosef had problems with the Eugene, because they came up with thousands of laws over their own. So in order for the people to understand this section, it's very important understanding that as bad as it was during the time of the Hamashiyach ben Yosef, so as it is bad as today. Because the church is repleted with was the equivalent of takanot and maasim during the time of the Hamashiyach ben Yosef. It is absolutely real bad. That's why then a lot of people, they detest Republicans, because they mix religion in the midst of it and becoming an absolutely unbearable situation. So it's kind of not very easy making an understanding and a balance, because politicians are liars. That's the stamp on politicians. They lie. So the only distinction from Democrats and Republicans is simply Democrats, they do what they think should be done, and they have a tendency of not mixing religion in the midst of it. If they do wrong, if they deviate money, if they steal, at least is open and shown. The Republicans, however, they use religion to cover up their crap. It's very hard. There are those who are then serious and flexible and understanding, but the great majority, they steal and they hide behind the church. It is absolutely awful when they have these generated religion from what was then equivalent as takanot and maasim. What most people have is a very bad translation of Scripture. Now, we're talking about facts, not faith. But because of lack of understanding as far as the holy instructions, people have a tendency of mixing fact and faith. And when this truly is said in the open, people get defensive. And they get defensive because they do not have the proper facts. That's what the Hamashiyach ben Yosef was speaking. Don't build your house on the sand. He was talking directly with those people of the law that they built their own set of laws and they were forcing on the people. So as these politics and religion mixed with it, they force upon the people certain ways that simply does not exist in the original manuscripts. And then of course people get revolted with it because they are being pushed upon sections of scripture that is simply a piece of crap. Now, a person should be reliable, should be responsible. They should understand obligations, but they should never be pushed upon translations and then forcing people to do what people do not want to do. So the government must be very cautious the way they handle themselves, because there are various kinds of religion. And a lot of them are very heavy with sexual molestation, sexual problems. So people are very uncomfortable with government taking on and forcing religion on people. This country is not Judeo-Christian. It is Judeo-Hellenistic. It's not the same. But because of traditions handed down for so long, religion is as bad as being drunk. They simply try to shove down people's throats. And a positive side of Democrats is they don't do this. Now the Republicans most of the time are prone for religious traditions and this kind of a crap. The people, quite honestly, they are tired of it. So if the Hamashiyach ben Yosef would come and start teaching, he would find what is the equivalent of today, takanot ma'asim. You begin to study the Hebrew language, you begin to identify, wow, this is what it means in the original language. You begin to understand the functions of the divine, and you begin to read these, and then you begin to understand what those people, when they begin to translate the Septuagint, even they themselves, they would, before they hand it over, they say, you know what, this is a piece of crap. And people have built their faith upon this junky translation. Not only this, then they generate what is the equivalent of takanot and ma'asim, and they shove down the others' throats. And granted, there are a lot of churches that should be taxed. In fact, they should tax every church in America, because they are very abusive. I used to work for the U.S. government in the island of Maui. You wouldn't believe how many pastors would come around and say that GOD had sent them there. What a hypocrites. Why didn't they send to the island of Madagascar to do teachings there? Oh no. They went to the island of Maui. Expensive hotels, meals paid for, and the stupid people working hard, paying their dues, paying their tithes, and thinking they do a service for God. No, these people are stupid. They don't understand what they are doing because they don't understand the facts. They're building their faith in wrong facts. And then they put everybody on the line, their families, their kids, in concocted theories that never worked. They are judgmental, gays and lesbians and other kinds of people, other religions. Because of a damn stupid manual that was badly translated. Now, people should cultivate the fact that they are honest, reliable, truthful, industrious. Absolutely. Now, when they mix wrong translations in the midst of it, it simply does not work. There are certain areas where then some people are very unique. But it is not the work of the church of persecuting and being judgmental. If they don't go along with the gay and lesbians, they should not be gays and lesbians themselves. It's already enough. Their own GODs probably would be satisfied with their positions. But they should not try to force in somebody else. Because it may not be their religion. Now, people are not very satisfied with religion in this country. Understandably, should be organized. Absolutely. But when they begin to shove it down people's throats the way they think should be, that's one of the situations that this country never worked. So then the Hebrew text helps us identify some of these wrong sections that were badly translated. It doesn't take the divinity away, it simply strengthens facts. It's amazing the huge distinction of religion and simply understanding a language. There are scores of situations that can be organized, and then they begin to exercise their faith. Now, people had the wrong ideas of Judaism. This particular tribe is 1 out of 12. So the Hamashiyach ben Yosef, when he was explaining these situations, he was cleaning up the holy instructions from thousands upon thousands upon thousands of laws. We understand sections of the quote-unquote Old Testament because the Hamashiyach ben Yosef cleaned it. If he hadn't come, we would have thousands upon thousands upon thousands of laws mixed with the laws of Moses. And that's how confused the people were back then. Now there are people in this country, they can barely speak their own language. They barely spend time reading the scripture, even though it's a bad translation, they don't even take the time to read it. Then they don't understand the holy instructions, they don't understand Hebrew. And then they go to a place of gathering once every 7 days, and then they shove it down people's throat what a scoundrel went up front speaking their own theories, and then they go around judging people. Scoundrelly amazing. If people they think they should be doing or exercising certain faith, let them do it on their own. As long as they are doing themselves, so what they believe as God should be satisfied, and they should not go around forcing on other people. Because Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh does not force his way on people. They must on their own develop the understanding and desire to read. So then let's hope next year these next 40 years at least, economic wise and religious wise, then becomes a bearable situation. Because a lot of people dislike religion in this country. So then, our example is then obviously the Hamashiyach ben Yosef, because the force behind him was Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, was the divine. That's why Moses said, when this prophet comes, listen, because Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh is going to speak from this person. The Hamashiyach ben Yosef never forced on anybody. So, the salvation of the soul. What does it mean? Next time this topic must be evaluated. So please stay tuned, much more coming up.